العلم أشراف مطلوب وطالبه لله أكرام من يمشي على قدم. العلم نور مبين يستضيء به أهل السعادات والجهال في الظلم.
Also, a person should refrain from OCD. So once they've cleaned it, khalas. So in this case, it is from the sunnah to do what for the boy who hasn't eaten yet? Pour. Someone could say, La ya akhi, I still see some yellow. And then if they want to clean, they can clean. But the sunnah says, if they want to clean, we're not going to say it's haram for you to clean. But the point is, you're inviting waswasa. And also, it would be nice to just stick to the sunnah. The Prophet did it, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When Hassan and Hussein, I can't remember which one, urinated when they were young. So that's just some important points, okay? لا غلو ولا جفا. لا إفراط ولا تفريط. We shouldn't go to extremes, nor negligence as well. Shouldn't have negligence too. Okay? Now moving inshallah ta'ala to shart as-sadis, the sixth. Satr al-awra. Okay, Satr al-awra. And the awrat also are divided into three. Same, mukhaffafa, mughallada, and mutawassit. Mughallada, mukhaffafa, and mutawassit. And these categorizations are latif, wallahi, latif. They're very, very nice. Because we can mention the types, but we can just mention it as, like, freely speak about it. But then when we put it into types, we can categorize them nice. So the first, the mughallada, is the one like the awratul mar'a, al-hurra, al-baligha, the woman who is baligh, she's reached the age of puberty, she should be covered, and her alayha an tastur jami' al-badan, she should cover the whole of the body. Illa al-wajh, except the wajh. And if you're of the opinion that the niqab is wajib, then even the wajh indal ajanib, when bihadratil ajanib. Okay, when there's foreign men, which ajanib translates to, but it means men who are not dha mahram. So she covers the face. Otherwise, if you're not of that opinion of the face, then the whole body. Okay? And that means she lets her khimar go all the way and her cover go all the way to the feet. So she covers the feet as well. Or, as Shaykh ibn Baz gave the fatwa, she can use socks. She can just merely wear socks. If she doesn't wear socks, then she allows it to go all the way down to her feet. Amma the hands, Shaykh ibn Baz gave the fatwa and he said, the hands, he said, afdal. It's afdal for her to cover the hands. Okay, but if she doesn't, salatuha, tasih. Then there's, so you see what mughallada is now, what it entails. That's why it's called mughallada, because of what it entails, the gravity of what she should do to come under the condition. And then there's mutawassit. Then there's the middle type of covering of the awrah. And this is the awrah of the man from as-surra ila al-rukbah. Okay, from the belly button to ma bayna as-surrati ila al-rukbah. The belly button to the knee. There's a long discussion with on the knee, or the limit is the knee or under the knee. Do you get it? But the point is, just stick to the jumal ad'an. Now, along with istihbab the recommendation of covering the shoulders. There's the kalam on this as well. Some of the ulama, they mention, that it's permissible. Like a Nawawi says permissible. And others, they mention, no, it should be covered. And one shouldn't be left. If one is covered, it shouldn't be the case. But long story short, the point is istihbab. We just say istihbab. يعني خروجا من الخلاف. That's why. Sometimes istihbab can come from خروجا من الخلاف. Not istihbab from the amr itself, but istihbab from the قاعدة of خروج من الخلاف. يعني قاعدة مسألة الأحوض. Okay, it's basically best to leave off the khilaf. It's best to leave off the khilaf, then you're using that, then it's istihbab. Do you get it? Does that make sense? So, I can't say it is istihbab specifically. I'm saying it's istihbab, it's highly recommended from another angle, which is that because there's differing, you're leaving off for the sake of leaving off for the safety, that is istihbab. Do you get it? No. So covering the shoulders. Then there's mukhaffafa. And that is the child from between 7 to 10. Ibn 7 ila 10. Between 7 and 10-year-old, then يشترط أن يستر الفرجين. Then it is important that he covers the private. But due to the young age, so if the knee was showing or something like that, then based on the kalam of the ulama, no. Then we move on, inshallah, to الشرط السابع دخول الوقت. نعم دخول الوقت. Allah al-Musta'an. I forgot to mention the definition of a shart to begin with, but we'll mention it at the end, inshallah ta'ala. شرط السابع دخول الوقت. So obviously, Salah before waqt, لا يصح. Salah before the time, so it's a condition that the time must come in. Let me just mention the point of the condition, because then it gives you more meaning when I say what condition. So condition is ما هو خارج الماهية, that which is outside of the thing. Is something you come with externally before the action. Opposite to rukun. Rukun is within the action. And a shart is the thing that comes first now. So it's the thing that comes first. And without it, the action is not complete. Now, so now let's go back to دخول الوقت. So دخول الوقت is that the waqt must enter. And دخول الوقت, although it says دخول الوقت, okay, although it says دخول الوقت, we also have to do muhafadha of the waqt, so we don't let it go out. Okay, but it's not in the condition, just a point to add. This is a tanbih. It's a tanbih. It's an important notice to add that a person shouldn't allow the waqt to go past. There's an exception to the rule of dukhul al-waqt. Is if the person is doing what? Who knows the exception? Like traveling. Combining li'udhr. For udhr. Not only traveling, for udhr also. Sorry?
Tangible fear.
Nah. So al-udhr, many things can come under that. It means a genuine need. And it could also be, as is narrated by the Prophet ﷺ, that he combined during bad weather as well. So it can be extreme bad weather. Okay? Sallu fi buyutikum. Sah. Pray in your homes. That's what it would be called. So if there was like a storm, you can combine. And other important needs, such as if you was the only surgeon in a village, مثلا you're in a Muslim land, you're the only one who can do neurologist, basically. You're a neurologist, brain surgery, and they needed you. This is mashaqqa. This is a haja. Arida. It's presented itself. It's coming. Not something you constantly do. It's very important because a lot of times the question to the mashayikh is that, I work this job and I travel here. And you should avoid jobs that play with your salah, or jobs that determine from you, alayhi salam, that certain shurut get moved about constantly. But if it's aridan, if it's come past as just something that presents itself, then yeah. So if you're the only one, so why we mention that is because if you can divide the job, the surgery, sometimes surgery is more than one doctor. So if one can handle it, I'll pray, just like, the Salah al-Khawf, right? Obviously they won't pray exactly Salah, but then he would, and then when he finishes, he will continue like that. So at least you preserve the time. But if you're the only one in that town, for example, someone has to operate on this person, then you combine your salahs, inshallah, ba'd. As the ulama have mentioned in the fatawa. So these are udhur, and there's many other udhur as well, and darurat as well, because there's darurat and hajiyat that a person has to pay attention to. الشرط الثامن استقبال القبلة. Okay, remember this is before you've even prayed. الشرط الثامن استقبال القبلة, that the person should face the qibla. Okay, there's two things that are exception of this. Nafila and Salatul Musafir. Sorry. Nafila fi safar, sorry. The nafila fi safar, sorry. That's exactly that. So it's not the nafila unrestrictedly, nor is it safar. It's nafila fi safar. The person who's doing the nafila while they're traveling. Okay, some of the ulama have mentioned, though, if they can find the qibla and they know where the qibla is, they should do ihram, they should do takbirat al-ihram, lock into their salahs facing the qibla, then they will go حيث توجهت الراحلة. Then they can, wherever it turns after that, if they can find. Okay, otherwise, if there's mashaqqa, then it drops. Like today, praying in a plane, for example. Okay? And other reasons as well. All the other reasons come under that. The great qa'idah that says, لا واجب مع العجز صح. There's no wajib al-ajz. So if there's a war, if you're going to fear from an enemy, for example, for some reason it blocks you from facing the qibla, or whatever, al-khawf, من العدو مثلا, then لا. الشرط التاسع النية. Okay, and النية is محلها القلب والتلفظ به بها بدعة. النية is that which the person, basically it's the thought. The best way to say niyyah is just a thought that comes in your head. So a person doesn't do like some individuals do. They mention who they're going to pray behind, even what time it is, probably sometimes. أصلي صلاة الظهر لو تاها من ركعات 4 ركعات أسف صلاة الظهر 3 4 ركعات خلف الإمام الإمام لونه أسود الله المستعان مشقة. So the person just thought, the fact that you're going to pray, except that you're a majnoon or something like that, who they're not even required to pray. Now, so a niyyah. Now, so here's some 2 tanbihat, inshallah ta'ala. And this is from the issue of, I think Ustad just touched upon it, but it's something that's discussed, the ulama they mentioned especially, and I think it's been mentioned in usul min ilm al-usul. Okay? It should be, because Ibn Uthaymin mentions it. That tarku shart jahlan when nasiyan. Okay? Leaving off a shart out of jahl, out of nisyan, and out of amd. So those are the three types. Jahl, person was ignorant. And there's a difference between jahl, we don't want to get into the details, but there's jahl bil hukum or jahl bil shart aslan. The person is ignorant of the actual shart, or the person is ignorant of the hukum. The second one, la yu'fa anhu, you don't have to be jahil of the hukum. It doesn't matter. The fact that you know it exists, you should come with it. Okay, and this is similar to any other thing as well. So any crime you do, someone can't say, oh, I didn't know this was going to happen to me. Nah, it would happen to you now. But if you're jahil, so jahil wa nisyan. Okay, so it's not for the shurut, the ones that we mentioned. We're going to keep it short, inshallah, because that's a bahth in and of itself, mustaqillah. The shurut that we mentioned, that it's not, none of that is considered, or the ignorance, or that I forgot, or that it was done on purpose, obviously, except for izalatun najasa. Because here, that one we mentioned with ilm and qudra, right? We mentioned that. Okay. Okay, for salatuhu sahiha. Alright? Because that why, who knows why? Faddal. No, guess that. The ulama, they mention you can guess in front of the teacher, you know that. Because the teacher's there to correct you, and it's not speaking without knowledge. If you guess in front of the teacher, no. In the hadith, the Prophet holding that there was Jazakallah khair. You're coming with the dalil. Good. Good. And
time, Salah, he was still in the Salah, but he didn't have to redo the whole Salah. From when the time that he took it off.
Jazakallah khair. هذا you come with the dalil and the mafhum of the dalil. Jazakallah, but we're looking for something else. نعم تفضل. عليك السلام ورحمة الله. What time? Salat Maghrib soon, yeah? تفضل. Good, Jazakallah khair. Min babi tark, that's why. It's min babi tark. It's something that you was meant to leave off, that's why. The second tanbih, نعم, that the shurut, all of those shurut that we mentioned, they have to be mustamirra ila nihayat al-amal. They have to be mustamirra, it has to be continuous. So, athna as-salah, in the midst of the salah, the person, something happens, I don't know, maybe they lose the qibla, they have to try and find it again, or they have to go back to it. Such as, if a person realizes he's praying in the wrong side, okay, and then someone fi athna as-salah, in the midst of the salah, pushes him or moves him, as you've seen, then they have to. If wa illa batalat as-salah. So it has to be continuous. You can't change the qibla, okay? And that's why the ulama have mentioned about, remember we said you're allowed taharruk al-yasir, right? You're allowed to move in salah if it's needed, lihajatin, right? Right? But if the moving is too much, remember we said, or we haven't said it, but inshallah it will be mentioned in the pillars of the prayer, that this can make the person's salah batil, especially if it's going to force him to change from the qibla. So he's going to end up facing somewhere else. So the point is, those shurut have to be دائما مستمرة في الصلاة كلها. طيب inshallah, what time is Salah coming in? About 5?
7 past 5.
Okay then. Okay, some questions, inshallah. Let's take a little quiz then, inshallah. Now, so last week we took some masail on shirk al-akbar wa shirk al-asghar. Who can give me an example of a shirk al-akbar? Dua li ghayri Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What else? Is that the only shirk? ها ذبح لغير الله سجود لغير الله ما شاء الله. And also what about the أعمال داخلي؟ نعم حب مع الله مثلا يحبونهم كحب هذا كاف وإيش تشبيه ولا أنت حروف الجر. نعم في ماذا؟ في الربوبية بارك الله فيك وفي أسماء وصفات أيضا. أن تعد that you consider somebody else as الحكيم as well. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. أو الرازق. طيب الشرك الأصغر رياء. ما شاء الله جزاك الله خير. And هذا يؤدي that takes to a shirk al-akbar, which takes me to my next question. How do we know a shirk al-asghar? How do we know something is asghar? That was for kaba'ir. That was for kaba'ir and saghair. Because it's naam. No, there's two ways. Number one, bin nas thabit. If you find a clear text that says something shirk al-akbar, يعني أنه صاحبه قد كفر, or that it is the interpretation of the Salaf, ما وافقوا فيه, that which they agreed upon, that whoever does such as action, kafir, right? Otherwise, it's things. So if you don't have no text for it, otherwise it's asghar. That's the first issue. Second, wasila, anything that leads to shirk akbar. Have we mentioned that? Naam, it's those things, just like the minor sins. If we know they're minor sins because number one, they don't have no ما ختم باللعن أو بأنه من عمل الشيطان أو كذا وكذا وكذا أوصاف كثيرة we mentioned. And the fact is the صغيرة is a وسيلة to the كبيرة. أما الشرك الأصغر as well, don't we have الحلف بغير الله, also swearing by other than Allah. What about the other type of shirk al-asghar, the other type of riyah? We mentioned another type of riyah. Who remembers? We went into a bit of a bath when it came to riyah though. Naam, what did we call it? That's a way of saying it, naam. Huh? We mentioned, the word we mentioned, who remember? Who can remember? It's got nafs on it, but that's actually, no, that's the explanation of Shaykh Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. Al-ujub. فلا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. Especially this day and age, with all these cameras, فلا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. Because the Prophet ﷺ, we mentioned the hadith of ما ذئبان جائعان أرسل في غنم, right? No two hungry wolves sent to a flock of sheep. Two hungry wolves, la ilaha illallah, to a flock of, يعني, you're taking wolves to all you can eat fest. Not only that, يعني أرسل, they sent freely. Upon that, بأفسد, it's more corrupt to a man من what? حب المال والشرف لدينه. حب, love of wealth, and sharaf, nobility, especially the men. Especially the men with narcissism more apparent in men than women. Although a lot's changed nowadays, فلا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. A lot of women are narcissistic. But the point is that camera, we mentioned, this is a big issue, big issue. So al-ujb, and Shaykh Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, what did he mention? This is the qawl he was talking about, right? Or was it you who said it? Shaykh Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, he mentioned it is ishrakun lil-nafs, because shirk al-riya is ishrakun lil-ghayr. It's ishrakun, is making ishrak lil-ghayr. You want to show others, mura'in fi salatihi mathalan. And that's the actual description the Prophet ﷺ gave. But this one, himself, is self-appeasing, self-amazement, yani loving of himself. So when he prays, he's actually praying so he can feel that he is whatever he wants to be. Sah. So that's that. Naam. And it's also called what? The riya one in specific. That's why it's one of the most discussed, because of this specific hadith. The Prophet ﷺ is what? It's called khafi, shirkul khafi. Why? It's more hidden than a what? The ant, the beeb, and naml. the steps of the Aman. Some have mentioned a black ant on a black rock in a dark night. That's how more hidden it is. And that's why we said this camera is a big issue today, even more so. Because especially when it comes to your ibadat, you have to leave some of it for Allah, if not all, or the majority for Allah, because it's hidden. Everybody likes nobility, sharaf, good mention, and there's nothing wrong with being happy, because the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned that it is tilka ajilatu bushril mu'min, that people praise you for an action that you do. MashaAllah, you done good, or you read well, or stuff like that. It's no problem that the good that you feel, the happiness that you feel that people benefited, for example, because the Prophet ﷺ, he said tilka ajilatu bushril mu'min. That is the hastiness of the glad tidings for the believer that people benefited from. It's that you don't seek it. That's the issue. You don't seek it.
وقل رب زدني